Now, I get many requests to tie certain flies, and this is one I was asked. A friend of mine asked me if I could tie them, or basically show. He owns a company called FNF, this one here, and he ties a floating fly pattern. Now, the original floating fly was just a basic, this one here. This is 20 years old. Now, this is a one that did really well for them, and some good materials, but like a lot of things, materials move on, and the type of Fritz, this one here, is basically Daphnia Fritz. They're used a lot, and there's quite a few flies it's actually used on, but on this fly it works really well, so I thought I would show you it. Now, basically I'm using a white, they call an egg white, and a safety orange, intensified by the bright orange, fluorescent orange. For the Zonker strip, I'm using this one here. It's called Rabbit Zonker. It's the olive with black tips. It's a nice colour. Hook, choice is up to yourself. This is a full mill hook. It's a size 8. It's just a nymph barbless. It's quite a strong hook. See, ideal for this sort of fly as well. Thread choice is up to you. If you could use a white thread, I'm using the fire orange. Basically, it's a good aiming point at the back of the fly. Actually, a small tag, but it disappears. You could use olive, you could use white. Let's say it's up to yourself. It makes it easier at the head. It just blends in with the head of the fly. Now, first thing I like to do is put down a layer of thread before I start. Hole right along the body and back up. Nice base of thread down, stops the materials rolling. It helps them to sit better. Remove the base then and come back up. Now I'm going to tie in this is a Booby cord in yellow, just a plastizote foam. You can get for venues, you can get the block foam, you cut it into, so this is 8mm foam for this size of fly. Now what I'm going to do is cut it into a point, so I can get a tapered cut. Tie it on, you can tie it that way, and it's up to yourself. I prefer it this way, up and away from the fly, so where it's going to be tied in is there, and then a base pinch it on the top, make sure this is well tied in, it's not going to move, and then we come back up, get it to sit where we want. You may have to stretch it slightly to get it to come up a wee bit. And then on the way back down, I'm going to tie in some Krystal flash. Just a pearl Krystal flash. Looking round half a dozen strands anyway. And this is just a bit of flash for underneath the tail. So I'm just lining up the ends here and tying the way down. It's much better to tie some on the way down. And again, we can tidy up the area. And that's right at the back. Now you can use a 6/0 thread, or in this case I'm actually using an 8/0, so a good length of flash. Don't be shy with it, don't cut it too short. You can always trim it later if you find it's too long. I just moisten the excess and just sit at my desk for the next fly. I've got a Zonker strip. Right, I've got it cut. This is a tapered end at the back, slightly shorter, you can do the bigger. Again, it's up to yourself. I've just cut the skin into a point. Look at the length that I want. Open it out to where you're going to tie it in. Make sure you get enough up the front here to tie. So best thing to do is to moisten the rabbit. Draw your fingers through it. Set it on the top. You want it nice and tight. Got to be all tied in. Just make sure it's not going to move. Actually turn it upside down and then put a wee touch of varnish or super glue just in there. Just allow it to soak in. Just give it a second or so. Take away the excess. That just seals it. Then we draw this back. I'm using a very fine varnish there. Draw this back and take your thread up 2/3 of the way to there. Now I've got my white Daphnia Fritz. First thing I'm going to do is remove some of the fluff to reveal. There's the core, just a cotton core. Catch this in the way back down. Keeps it really neat when you do that. Again, nice and tight. Bring your thread back up. This point here, you're looking like a throat length or a thorax length. And then we just basically stroke back as we wind the Daphnia Fritz up. Stroke it back, do one turn in front of the other. Now if you want a really dense body, you can tighten it up. You can be loose with it if you want, but I'm making it nice and tight. Just keep going till you're happy, and then make a space for your thread to come through. And then just make sure you get a good few turns in there. And your scissors. Throw away any excess. Just tidy up the area. This is where we're going to tie in our safety orange. Best to make sure it's well tied down. Now what I'm going to do here is make a space for the rabbit. So put a middle shed into the Daphnia Fritz. I'll show you in a second. This allows you to get the skin right flat. You see how it's right on the top. I can bring this up, get it to sit much better. Because I'm going to be trimming this anyway. You're going to have to, because it's, as you can see, it's starting to fill up the gape of the hook. That's too heavy, so you reduce it and you get a nicer shape. So we go with our safety orange now, we do the same thing. Just remove some of the fibre and reveal the core. We can then tie this in. Nice and tight. It's fine. So what we're looking at, do a kind of test run, see how many turns we need just to fill that area up. So you look into sort of 2 turns. Now you see the area where I'm going to be tying it off. I like to prepare the Fritz to make, so I can get the thread turn into it. So I kind of mark it with my eye. What I do is lift it out, and then you can make a space for your thread. Just going to go back, so make sure I've got. You can use a Velcro to brush it out, so you can see where you are. And once you're happy, I'll show you here. I've got a space that I've actually formed that I can actually get the thread turns right in at that point. So just make sure you can see where it is. Come round. So what's your thread? As I come up with the thread, I know where it is. It's in there. It saves in the bulk in the material. Just tying in a lot of this fibre can add a lot of bulk to your fly. By doing that, makes it much neater. So we can come in, neat cut. Again, anything, make sure it's nice and tight up against the foam. See where we are, and again get the Velcro. We can draw this down. You can see there, making a space for your rabbit. And then we can bring this over, nice and tight, catch it in. Now make sure you get a few turns in there, see how it's sitting. You can always go back at this point if we're not happy. You can trim away the waist, make sure you get a nice sharp pair of scissors, trim. Take the corners off the skin there. Now it does pay to put a wee bit of super glue. I usually run it on my thread and then wind into that area. It grips the skin really well. tidies that area up. So then what we can do is finish off with our thread at the back, sorry, the head. Then we can finish. Trim away your thread. Then what I'm going to do is trim. Now you could use curved scissors to do this, it's up to yourself. You could use the straight pair of scissors, this is just a pair of razor scissors. And I'm going to cut thick, it's going to be thick at the top here. Just going to bring the velcro into it a wee bit here so that I can fluff it out. And then trim it, tapering towards the back of the hook. So cut it at an angle towards the bend. Nice cut. And then get a kind of minnow type shape, make them round, much like you would do with deer here. Same on my side. Just move your Zonker strip out the way. You want to trim that away. And once you're happy with the shape, what I like to do is trim it flat just on the side here and on the orange area. When you put the eye in this area, I want it as close to the hook as possible. Do both sides. Now I've got small adhesive eyes. These are basically silver holographic eyes, and I need 2. So I'm just setting them on my thumb at this point. Get the super glue, and in the area where I've trimmed, I'm just going to dab it with the super glue. Now I've got a pair of tweezers. Get my eye as quick as I can, set it on. Let it go, press. You'll see it sticking. Do the same on the other side. Super glue in there. The tweezers again. You can place the eye. Just check where your eye's at. Make sure they're in the right area. Transforms the fly. Just whenever you do that, you can just see, brings it, makes it look really good. And that kind of nice minnow shape. I'm just trimming any hair away at this point that may be in the way of the eye or anything. Because what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use a resin. I've got a UV resin. This is a fully milled glass. This one here. So what I'm going to do is just basically put it on the eye and let it slightly overflow, meaning press down onto it so it touches the material. Get your torch. Do one side at a time. Oops, switch on. Give it a good 10 seconds or so. If you're putting a blob of resin on, you're going to get plenty of time to set. And do the other side. Just checking here. Just need to, as I say, encourage Summit just to touch the Daphnia Fritz so that it actually holds it. When you're happy, you can get your torch, set the resin, again give it a good 10-15 seconds or so. And there we are. Now what I'm going to do is I like to squeeze a wee bit of resin on the side. I've got a wee plate here, and then seal the head using the resin. But I like to apply it with a double needle. So I've got some of the resin on my needle, and then I just basically put it in there, holding back the rabbit. And we can set that. Let's give it a second or two. Then do the underside. Some more resin onto my needle. If you can rotate your vise, obviously it helps to do this. Just apply it, put it in. You don't want to obviously get it on the eye. And here we are. Now on the eyes especially, I prefer to put a wee bit of varnish to finish it off. Sometimes you get a wee bit of tackiness in the eye, and I prefer just to seal it. So I just put a very clear, this is a vineyard clear varnish onto the eye. As I say, it just seals it up. Let me touch under there, and there we go. And that's the floating fry. Basically, if the fish are hammering into the fry, they'll always stun a lot of the fry. That's the intention, is stun them. And these fish, what they do is they spin in their head just below the surface, and they just hang there. And you suspend the fry pattern, but just at the right area, the fish will come up and take them. You can trim this a wee bit shorter or long, it gets up to yourself, but that there should float that. And that's basically the FNF floating fry pattern. And I hope you enjoyed that time.